What's up guys, Bajheera here. Now for this video, we are going to be doing another character update, but this one in particular is pretty exciting because this is my first character update since hitting level 60. I think I hit level 60 about a week or two ago. It's hard to tell because the classic grind kind of melds time, but we've done Molten Core twice, so we'll call it that. Maybe like somewhere between a week or two. And during that time, we've been running a lot of dungeons. I've tested out a couple different builds. And we've gotten a fairly decent amount of starting loot. We definitely have a lot of improvement left to make in terms of getting like best in slot for PvE. Definitely have some improvements to make in terms of getting best in slot for PvP. However, I think now would be like a good time to go through my gear, my talents, some macros, because I do get a lot of questions about macros. And we can maybe even just look at a few of the updates I've made to my add-ons, even though there haven't been a whole lot of them. But I think first things first, we can start with my gear, just because that's kind of fun. We have some really exciting items to show you guys. So first things first, I guess what we're going to be doing is going through the gear that I usually wear. Like if I wanted to put on an even tankier set, I could probably go back and put on even more plate gear. But this is pretty much the gear that I run around in for the world. And then if I'm going to be doing some dungeons, I can make some changes depending on if I want to be a little bit squishier but do more damage, or be a little bit tankier if I'm going to be like just arms tanking some lower dungeons like BRD or something like that. But anyway, first things first is the Mask of the Unforgiven. This thing is something that you definitely want to get your hands on if you're going to be DPSing as Fury, or I guess even as arms. The reason why is because it gives you 2% hit and 1% chance to crit. A little bit of stamina. It is leather though, so if you're going to be DPSing as a warrior right now, you need to be comfortable wearing a whole lot of leather. As a Fury warrior, you're basically going to look like a rogue, which is kind of funny. But this is from the Unforgiven in Stratholme. My necklace is the Mark of Forging. This comes from a quest in, I think, like a combination of Western Plaguelands and Eastern Plaguelands. We're talking to Tyrion. Eventually, at the end of this thing, you do get a necklace that gives you 1% chance to crit and 26 attack power. So you're going to sort of notice a theme on this gear, is a lot of it is going to be like items that give you a chance to hit, items that give you a chance to crit. Hit is super important for PvE, especially if you're going to go Fury, which is probably the best single target raid DPS build for sure. Although I do kind of like arms when it comes to dungeons and PvP. I think that arms can work in raid. I mean, you're mostly just going to be contributing a little bit of DPS, maybe being available as an off-tank. But I'm curious to see how arms goes this next week in raiding because of a new weapon that we got. If you guys may have seen the drop video, but we'll get to that. In terms of shoulders, I'll usually just throw on the slam shot shoulders while running to the dungeon, just to make sure that if we ever get in some PvP, we're a little bit tankier. It's got some good stamina, got some good attack power. I probably had these in the last character update video, because I always want to maintain at least 5% hit for PvP. So that's why I'm wearing something a little bit squishier. But if we're going to do, if I'm in a dungeon, just want to have maximum hit, or if I'm in raid, we'll throw on the True Strike shoulders. These come from Upper Blackrock Spire, that little fire elemental looking boss. They improve your chance to hit by 2%, which is huge. These are pretty darn good. We may eventually be able to find something to replace them, but right now, hit and attack power is awesome, even though they're just leather. I should mention that the next thing I'm working on right now is the Lionheart Helm. I'm probably going to need about 500 to 600 gold to make that. I have a few thorium bars laying around, but that's really about it. So we're going to need some cash monies. We did spend money on my epic mount. We went ahead and farmed that up, and I figured that would be a nice quality of life investment early on, and then we'll get the Lionheart Helm after. But that's going to take a little bit more gold. We'll farm it up though. We got some auctions rolling. We're gonna be all right. You know, as long as we farm dungeons for gold. That's basically what I would do for gold right now, is just farm dungeons, sell loot that drops. You know, just scrape together some vendor grays and things like that. And of course, profession's gonna work too. But that's all I've been doing for gold really. But anyway, that's what we're working towards next. We could also, in terms of some of this gear, maybe down the line, get some of the what's it called? The Devil Source stuff. We could do that. That'll be cool too. But anyway, you'll notice I tend to get really distracted talking about everything about my character during these videos. But that's part of the fun. A lot of theory crafting. Right now I have the Emperor's New Cape. Pretty sure this comes from BRD. The ideal cape for me is going to be the cape that drops off of the final boss in Stratholme. I think it gives you like attack power and agility or something like that. That'd be pretty cool. By the way, one of the add-ons that I'm sort of looking at some cool items with is Biz Tracker. This is just one of them. It's not always completely accurate either, but something you can look at. So yeah, agility, attack power. So Biz Tracker plus Atlas Loot is a nice little way to be able to check different items and where they drop, and you can kind of map out your own gear path, and you can sort of use this as like a starting guide for that. But anyway, that's the upgrade I can make for that. In terms of my chest, I'm using the Death Dealer breastplate. A little bit of crit, or sorry, a little bit of strength, a little bit of stamina. 2% crit is really nice. The thing I want to improve with this thing is a very rare drop off of the arena in BRD. So there's a boss called like Gorosh the Dervish, who has a rare chance to spawn, and then he has a rare chance to drop the Savage Gladiator chain. People have put 100 runs in the arena, never gotten it. I've done a lot of runs in the arena. I've seen the boss spawn only twice, and he has both times dropped me not the chest piece. Dropped me these legs both times, actually, so that kind of sucks. But eventually he'll drop the chest piece, and then that gives me strength, agility, stamina, and still that 2% crit. It is a male piece, but I mean, it's really nice, so it's worth wearing for sure. Then that would be like best in slot for a while, so that'd be cool to get that. We'll keep farming it. But that's what we're using right now. In terms of bracers, I have the Battleborn arm braces. Once again, it's got that nice combo of hit and crit. It is at least plate. There's also an item that drops, I believe, from like Stratholme that gives you strength, stamina, and crit. But I like the hit on these. Maintaining 5% hit for PvP feels nice. And of course, just stacking a bunch of hit for PvE, you know, guarantees that your attacks are, well, not guarantee if you're Fury, but increases the chance that they're going to hit, which is really, really nice. Definitely want to make contact with your abilities, generates rage, and of course you're not wasting globals and stuff. Whenever you miss a mortal strike, you have to wait 6 seconds for another one to pop up. Kind of a pain. So hitting obviously is nice. For the gloves, I'm using the Death Grips. These drop off of Magistrate Bartholus in Stratholme. Being immune to disarm is super nice. Obviously in PvP it's nice, but even in PvE, I feel like there's like a lot of mobs that disarm you. A lot of the humanoids disarm you. It's a pain in the butt. So equipping these just kind of saves you from that and allows you to put a nice enchant on your weapon, which I'll show you in a second. They also do give you 22 strength, so that's nothing to sneeze at. You do lose some stamina if you decide to use these for PvP, but I think the immunity to disarm is really, really nice, and being able to use it on gloves is cool. In terms of the belt, very nice belt. This drops off of the last boss in Upper Blackrock Spire. It's plate, strength, stam, and it improves your chance to hit. Just a beautiful belt. This is really, really nice. I'm not sure. Eventually, I might find something to replace this, like the Onslaught Girdle would be a really strong replacement for this, but that drops off of Ragnaros, so likely won't be getting that for a while, especially because I got such strong loot from Ragnaros last week. I'm not sure I'll be getting any other loot from him anytime soon, unless we just get really lucky and the guild is nice enough to give it to me, but I think that it's probably going to be a loot distribution thing. And since I got such a strong weapon off Rag, they'll probably try to give it some other DPS, which is fine. By the way, we're raiding with Sovereign. We've sort of officially partnered up with Sovereign. Bajheera's army and Sovereign are going to be doing a lot of cool stuff together, so shout-outs to them on our Fairlina server for letting me raid with them and for partnering up with the guild. It'll be a lot of fun. Because for me, Bajheera's army is like a guild that I wasn't really planning to make a guild for Classic. But then it was like, you know what? We're going to go ahead and do it because the guild that I was going to be in sort of fell through. And I was like, why not? Let's make our own guild. And it's actually grown pretty significantly, which is awesome. So very glad to have so many people in the guild, but I also want to make sure that even though I'm not like a super raid leader, I don't have a ton of time to organize all that stuff. It'll be awesome to have our people involved in that by partnering up with Sovereign, so that'll be really cool. But anyway, as we go, we have the Savage Gladiator leggings. So I could replace these with the Devil Source stuff. Same thing with the gloves. I could replace those with Devil Source stuff for a little bit more crit, a little bit more attack power. But for PvP, once again, I do want to make sure I have enough stamina and armor. And these aren't like a bad option. I think the other pants that I would like are Upper Blackrock Spire. They drop from the Anvil guy. This duder. Big old legs, man. Big, beefy 29 strength, 12 stamina legs. Those would be awesome for PvP. We haven't gotten them yet because we often have, like, in our runs prior, we were skipping this mob, but I think we're going to have to start making sure we hit that guy so I can get a chance at those legs because they're just super nice. So big, beefy legs for PvP would be sweet. The boots that I have right now are the Master Cannoneer boots. They have a lot of stamina, a good amount of strength. Went ahead and enchanted them with a minor speed increase for PvP, which is nice. Sometimes in PvE, though, I could also put on the Wind Reaver Greaves. These are just sort of a drop that I ended up getting off of Kirtonos in Scholomance. The boots that I really, really want, though, are actually the Bloodmail boots, also in Scholomance. Somewhat of a low chance to drop, but they drop off of like a bunch of bosses there at the end. Haven't seen them yet, but they do give you stamina, strength, and agility, and a hit. So those are definitely something to look into instead of just agility. These would be nice for PvP, once again, for the hit and stuff. If I wanted to put those on, that's cool, because if I get hit on my gear from some places like boots and things, then when there's stronger item slots that I want to equip, I can do that, like, without losing out on my like hit on my shoulder or something like that. But once again, it's just something to kind of keep an eye on. They're not bad for PvP, or sorry, PvE either. They get a little bit more attack power because I get a little bit of strength on them instead of extra agility for the crit. But either way, these boots work too. But I'd probably end up wearing these for PvP. So for rings, I have Magni's Will, which is a quest line from BRD. Strength, stam, crit. It's just not a bad ring. Not a bad ring at all. Another one you can look for is the Pain Weaver's Band, which is a Dracasath to drop. So last boss hunt for Blackrock Spire. Or is this lower Blackrock Spire? Dracasath, I think, is upper, right? We can take a quick look at that. Yeah, upper is Dracasath. So that's a you know, it gives you like a teeny bit more attack power, I think. This one gives you 12 attack power. This one gives you 14 attack power, so same stamina amount, same critical amount, but this is a quest item, so you don't have to rely on a drop, which is nice. I also have the Blackstone Ring, which is a drop. You got to get this from Princess and Maradon. Stamina, attack power, hit, just a nice little ring for PvE. When it comes to trinkets, this one first. We'll go this one first, because this is a quest reward for doing stuff in lower Blackrock Spire, and then I think you have to go up to upper Blackrock Spire to complete the quest. I think, but either way, it's not a hard thing to find. You just go to the quest guy in right here. It starts there, and you can take it from there. It's just basically the Blackrock Spire dungeons. Just 2% increased chance to crit is so nice, super juicy. Would recommend. This trinket though, this is one piece of loot I got from my first week at MC. It's kind of like a joke item, right? It reflects or deals back 13 fire damage to the attacker when hit. I mean, I guess it adds a little bit of damage as long as you're getting hit. It's a bit of a jokester item, but I did roll a need 100 on it, which is kind of funny. It's like I said, it's one of the only 2 pieces I've gotten from MC, and like everybody in the raid rolled on it, and I ended up getting it, which is pretty funny. So we use it outside of Stratholme. When we're in Stratholme or Skullomance fighting undead mobs, we'll definitely put on the Seal of Dawn, which is one of those items that you get from questing in there. Basically, it gives you the baseline version of this, then you do some quests. I think it's probably in Stratholme, and then you get the upgraded version of it, which deals extra, or sorry, it gives you 81 attack power when fighting undead, which is really nice. Definitely some sweetness there. But yeah, what I want is the Hand of Justice. That's what we've been working on this quite a bit. It has refused to drop so far. The 2 ultra rares that we're looking for out of BRD is this and this. So we've been doing a lot of Arena Anger Forge runs. No luck quite yet, but it'll drop. It's coming. It's coming. In terms of my bow, we have the Gorewood bow. This is a quest reward for killing Nathanos in the Plaguelands quest line, so that's kind of a surprise. What we really want though is a lower Blackrock Spire item called the Black Crow. Gives you extra hit. Now I may be getting more hit than I need for arms. I think that you can have up to 9% hit, I believe, is what you really want. The only thing that's better is a bow off of this thing called Striker's Mark. Attack power and hit is really nice, but until we can get that, we'll just take the hit, which is from Black Crow. And once again, the more hit gear that I have, the more options I have for sort of distributing extra attack power, you know, just strength, stamina, and like crit on my other gear for PvP. But for PvE, a lot of hit is nice. So last but not least is the newest drop we have. That bad boy, the Spinal Reaper. Insane weapon, man. Holy moly. So this thing is like a 5% chance to drop off of Ragnaros. And then it dropped, right? And then we have to roll against like 5 other people to get it. And an Arms Warrior rolled like an 85. And then a Ret Paladin, who plays mostly Prot, I think, actually rolled a 93 on it. So I was like, no, dude. And then I threw in my rolled a 99, and got the Spinal Reaper, dude. This weapon is so freaking awesome. Not only is it something that I'm not really going to upgrade until Blackwing Lair, the only weapon that's really better than this is the Obsidian Edged Blade. And I guess the Hand of Rag, for now, would be better than this. But Spinal Reaper is insane, dude. So I'm going to be hanging on to this for a long time. It's an axe. So I don't really get the human weapon specialization for it, but I do get to put 5 points into axe specialization, which gives me 5% extra crit. So we're rocking a lot of crit right now. I guess if I put on the Wind Reaper boots, then I get a whole 1% extra crit, basically. So those Wind Reaper boots, when you think about it, those are basically like this item, right? There's no stats on it except for 1% crit, 1% hit. So if I'm rocking these bad boys, we have 27% chance to crit, which is just nutty. It also does 200 to 300 weapon damage. It's a 3.4 weapon speed, so it's a little fast for a two-hander. Like, you love like a slow 3.8 weapon speed as a warrior, but I mean, there's so little to complain about this weapon. It also gives you 34 attack power, which is pretty sick. But what's so fun about it is in PvP, like BGs, you guys know that I'm like a fiend for killing blows, and this weapon actually has a killing blow effect, right? So whenever you get a killing blow on something that could award experience or honor, you get 20 rage back, and that little rage refund only has a 10-second cooldown, so you can just run around in dungeons, just like execute a mob, get an execute crit for like, you know, 1600, and then you get 20 rage back. You can just go execute another mob, or you can, like, you know, have enough rage to do another whirlwind. So it's just like, as long as you're getting killing blows, you're just a killing machine by generating rage, which is just insane. So I went ahead and slapped a Crusader enchant on that thing because it deserves it. And as long as we roll the death grips, we just can't be disarmed. So this weapon has been so much fun. We're absolutely smashing dungeons with this, and I bet it's fine for single target damage too. Like, I don't think I'll be out DPSing Fury Warriors, but I think it'll be fine. But in the raid where we got this, I was a Fury Warrior, and I didn't have the best gear, but I ended up doing like second top DPS for Warriors in the raid, which is awesome. So, and I'm definitely not even the second top geared Warrior in that raid. So we did okay as Fury, but I think with our setup, we're going to be doing fine as arms as well. So we're definitely going to put this weapon to good use in PvP and PvE. So that is my gear update right now. I guess we should go into the talents next. The talents, this is nothing new. If you guys have seen my level 60 warrior build video, that's pretty much exactly what I'm doing. This is also the build that I would recommend for leveling, or at least I use for leveling. You can level as Fury if you want to, but I find arms to be really, really nice for a lot of reasons. But I changed my build a little bit, because I did take out the points and improved charge. I do like improved charge a lot, but in terms of overall utility, I ended up going down into improved hamstring, because now, when I was leveling, I didn't go to Deep Wounds and Impale because I didn't have a strong enough weapon to really make it worthwhile. I didn't have enough crit to make it worthwhile. But now when I respec, I do just go straight for it. So 2 points deflection, 3 points rend, 5 points tactical mastery, 1 point anger management, 2 in improved overpower, 3 in Deep Wounds, Impale for the extra crit damage, 2 in a weapon specialization, obviously because we're using a two-hander. Sweeping Strikes is so nice. Sweeping Strikes, especially with things like Whirlwind and Cleave that hit multiple targets. The hits will cleave back and forth between the targets, basically. So you get hit by the Whirlwind, you get hit by the Sweeping Strikes of the other Whirlwind hit, and it happens for like both things. So everybody gets hit twice, which is awesome. Does a ton of damage. So starting a pull in a dungeon with like charging in, popping Sweeping Strikes, swapping to Zerker Stance, Whirlwind, ba-boom, huge damage. And then you just cleave after that, just crunch everything. It's so nice. Axe Specialization, obviously because we're using the Reaper now. Extra 5% chance to crit is sweet. Drop 1 point in improved hamstring for a small chance to root. Hardly ever see this thing go off, honestly, but I think when it does go off, it's pretty worthwhile. Especially if you're fighting a target that tries to kite you. Then you go with Mortal Strike for the big damage. In terms of the Fury tree, I'm going 5 points in Cruelty. I'm going 5 points in Booming Voice to increase that AoE, so you can shout rogues at a stealth a little more easier with Demo Shout. But also makes your Battle Shout last a little longer, which is just kind of nice. I must put a point in Piercing Howl. I mean, it's just too much utility to pass up. So then you only get 4 points in improved Battle Shout, which is fine, but then you get 5 points in Enrage. So whenever you get crit, you're doing 25% more damage for 12 seconds or 12 swings. Insane damage. So in PvE, if you do pull a little bit of threat in dungeons and one mob crits you, it's just game over for that entire pack, man. They're just going to get shredded with Cleaves and Whirlwinds after that with Enrage bonus. And that's the build that I recommend. This is a pretty standard PvP build for arms. That works for me. That's what I've been doing, just the 31-20 build. You can do other stuff if you wanted to, but this is pretty standard. And you can tank with this. You can just throw on a shield and put some plate gear on the tank just fine. But those are the talents I went with. If you want a bigger breakdown, you can check out my level 60 warrior build video that I made for I guess it was the beta, the PvP beta. I don't necessarily want to talk through every single talent choice, but I did in that video. But hopefully this makes sense to you. This is just a really nice little setup for me. Then in terms of macros, so my macros are also really simple. Most of my macros are basically just like stance swap or weapon equip macros. Here's what we're looking at with this. Now, I can show you the macros, and I'm going to, but we're going to go over it quickly. because the format is very similar, and it's more important to me that you learn how to write a macro than I just give you the macros, because if you learn how to write a macro, then you can create stuff for yourself, which is fun. But I don't really use anything like cast sequence or anything like that right now. It's just basically just shift clicking stuff out of your books into your things. The one thing that you want to do is to do a hashtag show tooltip with them with whatever ability you want to show the tooltip of, so that way when you're hovering over it, it actually shows it properly. But I have an intercept macro where it puts me in Zerker stance, cast intercept, it'll also cast hamstring, and also starts my attack. So a lot of things you're going to see in like every macro is a show tooltip, and there's a start attack. I'll put start attack on like everything. Every button ever should have a start attack in it, basically. Unless you want to stop attack for like stop attack fear, right? Which I can make a macro for that too. I don't think I have one actually right now. I might want to do that. But anyway, this will put me in Zerker stance. It'll charge, or sorry, it'll intercept and then hamstring, and it'll start my attack. This one is a shield wall macro. Obviously, it shows tooltip for shield wall. It'll equip my one-hander and shield. It'll put me in D stance, and it'll cast shield wall. Like if you spam it, it won't do it in one button press because it has a weapon equip thing. But if you spam this thing, it'll slap on your one-hander and shield. It'll throw you in D stance, and it'll shield wall. This one is a fun little tanking, like lazy tanking macro. It shows tooltip for shield block. Obviously, you don't have a shield on. It will not shield block, but it'll cast revenge. It'll start your attack. It'll shield block. It'll taunt. It'll cleave. Like the only thing that's on the global cooldown here is what? Like, are any of these on global cooldown? Revenge might not even be on global cooldown. I don't think shield block is. One of these things might be on global cooldown, but if it's not, then you can throw something that is global cooldown on there. I'm pretty sure revenge is on global cooldown or something. But that's another rule about macros, is you can only have like one global cooldown per macro, but if things aren't on global cooldown, you can throw it in there. So you can just go in a dungeon and just spam this, and it'll taunt the target to you, it'll revenge it, it'll shield block, you know, so you taunt it, shield block, you'll block the attack, then you can revenge. It's just something good for generating threat, and if you have enough rage, you can just spam cleave to AoE, do damage too. This is just another D-stance taunt macro. I mean, obviously it puts you in D-stance and it taunts. You can even throw a start attack in there for good measure, right? There you go. Start attack that bad boy. This is charge. Show tooltip charge puts you in battle stance. It'll charge and it'll hamstring when you get close. Now, once again, this is one of those things that might require a couple of different button presses. It's just a one button kind of thing. That's not always like it'll do everything that you want it to do, right? So you charge in, and the next button press will be hamstring. It'll start your attack. This is a retail macro, right? So it's kind of like shield wall. It'll put you in the appropriate stance in retail. Same thing with wreck. It'll put you in the appropriate stance in wreck. Whirlwind. I have cleave in here as an optional. If you add one of these things, it'll make it so it doesn't work. But if you take it out, then it will cleave. This is just basically, once again, go in the right stance, cast whirlwind, and start attack. Same thing with sweeping strikes. Goes into the appropriate stance. It'll cast the ability that I want, and it'll start my attack. This is standard for a lot of different macros, right? Same thing. Appropriate stance, ability, starting attack. Execute, it's purely start attack. For this one, it's appropriate stance, the ability, start attack. So once again, appropriate stance, ability, start attack. So once again, my macros aren't super exciting, but what I'm trying to get you to understand is the formatting more than the macro itself. Same thing with Mortal Strike. Doesn't require any stance, but I want it to Mortal Strike, but I want every ability. Like if you walk up to a mob and press Mortal Strike and you don't have enough rage, it'll just stand there and do nothing. So start attack as part of the macro will make you attack the mob at least to generate some rage. We showed you wreck. Cleave is the same thing. It's a start attack. Sunder Armor is the same thing as start attack. This is just a start attack for Bloodthirst, and this is just a go into battle stance and overpower. Now, I put an optional Heroic Strike in here too. So Heroic Strike and Cleave aren't on global cooldown. If you want to put them in a macro, you can. It's just probably going to spend more rage than you want. But later on in PvP, when you're super geared out, everybody's hitting you, you have a million rage, you can just macro Heroic Strike into abilities or macro Cleave into abilities and just slam people. And so those are the macros. Once again, nothing too insane. Just some basic stance swapping, equipment or weapon equips, and start attacks is pretty much all we have for macros right there. This is another one, just straight up equip my sword and shield, and that's how that works. In terms of add-ons, I haven't really added a whole lot to my add-ons, but just in case you're wondering, Atlas loot, that's the add-on that I use to check the loot that drops from dungeons. Auctionator is a sort of auction house add-on that I like. It just makes things a little bit easier. Bagnon is my bag add-on right here. It's really nice because it has an auto sort feature, and I'm a fiend for auto sorting, so I'm very glad that Bagnon is working and has the auto sort feature in there. Better vendor price is one of those things that you can use to show the vendor price on items. I think that Leatrix also does this. I think that Auctionator probably also does this. TSM shows me the auction price too. I showed you BIS tracker. That's this thing. That shows you some suggestions for your best in slot, and it puts a little check mark when you have it, a little X when you don't. That's kind of neat. Just something that you can use to keep track of items that you might be looking for if you don't have a previous idea about that. Blue shamans literally just makes shamans look blue on their nameplate. I like that better than shamans being pink, so I got that add-on. Classic aura durations is where it actually shows, instead of just having a rend icon on there, it'll actually show like the duration of rend, which I prefer. Classic cast bars, I actually turned that off because I'm pretty sure threat plates has cast bars in there already. Details is my damage meter. Dominoes is my action bar thing. Easy frames is just one of those things that you can use to make your frames look different. I don't use it right now because I like the kind of classic style. Inventorian was a bag out on that I was using, but I'm using Bagnon. Leatrix maps is what shows maps in like a minimized window here. It also shows the location of dungeons and stuff, which is nice. I think that's pretty handy for getting around. We have Leatrix Plus, which does a whole lot of different stuff, including putting this elite thing around my bar here. That's just part of, if you go to like player chain, that can show that'll show the elite thing for you. But take a look at Leatrix. That's a lot of really neat stuff, including like faster looting. But I would recommend turning off the auto accept, auto turn in quest. That way you don't bug the quest thing for your friends when you're turning in like an escort quest. So the monkey quest thing is this thing on the side that allows you to track more than 5 quests. They can be minimized and stuff too, which is nice. It sort of sorts by zone. So that's a nice little questing add-on right there. We have real mob health, which shows you the mob health on mobs, right? And it'll show it on your party members too, their exact health instead of just the 100%. But on other players, on enemy players, it will not show their health bar, so you just gotta be aware of that. Spy is a kind of a fun little world PP add-on. It'll show you nearby players and stuff. You can mark players as like kill on sight if they're ganking you, camping you, when you're running around and a group of 3 people comes and kills you, and you're like, okay, you guys are, next time I see you, you're getting it. So you can put them on your kill on sight list. But it's kind of a fun little add-on to keep track of people out in the world. World PP is a big aspect of Classic, and I think this is kind of a fun add-on for it. Threat plates is that add-on that shows you the health bars above mobs, right, on their nameplate. That's what I liked. I've been using that on Modern WoW. I've been using that on Classics. Not a new add-on, but just going through. That's what it is. I have Weakauras available. I haven't really used Weakauras yet in Classic, but I probably should for showing like overpower or like having your entire screen have a battle shout icon when battle shout falls off, things like that. You can set that up. Weapon swing timer is this little add-on right here that shows you the weapon swings. It's aptly named for weapon swings, right? Deja Classic stats is when I open up my character screen and you see a ton of stuff like hit and crit and whatnot. That's Deja character stats. If you want to get that add-on, that'll show you all of that stuff. It's pretty helpful for getting things like hit and crit for sure, right? Then we have Tradeskillmaster, which is a super overwhelming auction house add-on. You can use that to set up stuff you want to let you scan the auction house, and it'll let you know, like, I wonder how much cheese is going for on the auction house. You'll have that that thing right there for you. Deadly boss mods shows you like, in bosses, just like on Modern WoW, like, hey, Ragnaros is going to be doing his fiery wrath thing, so move away from him, and then it lets you know when you can move back in, right? That kind of stuff. So that's nice to have that. And then DBM is also just the default skin, and then you have a billion default or DBM options for different raids and whatnot. So you can get that. Also works for dungeons and stuff, just to give you an idea of boss mechanics and whatnot. And then Questy, of course, is the add-on that shows you all the quests scattered around. Makes questing for me a whole lot easier. If you want to have the vanilla Classic experience and you want to waddle around and look up quests online and have to read the quest text, go for it. But I find that it's a lot nicer to have some guidance in that, and so I use Questy. But that's my character gear, my talents, my macros, and my add-ons. So hopefully that helps you guys out. Hopefully that gives you some direction in terms of your gameplay, as well as giving you an idea of where my character is. Having a blast with Classic so far. My next couple plans moving up are to get a couple more good items from dungeons, try to put together some cool PvP set. I think that getting the Valor set would be nice, both for its PvP effectiveness and in terms of looking really cool with this weapon, just to get a nice little cohesive Mog. And that's my dungeon objectives. My gold objectives are to get the Lionheart Helm, which we're going to work towards. Hopefully get that, in the next week or so. And then we just keep grinding, keep kicking butt, get ready for Phase 2, and have fun grinding out dungeons, making gold, and kicking butt in PvP. But that's where we're at right now. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it's a long one. I do get a little bit long-winded when talking about my warrior stuff, but having a blast, and also a lot of fun to share the progress with you guys. And of course, we're streaming every day live around 2 p.m. PST every day. If you guys want to tune in for that at twitch.tv/Bajheera, I'd love to have you. But also, if you enjoy the YouTube content, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to show it some love and likes and comments. Definitely appreciate you guys watching. Definitely excited to keep the content rolling for you. But for now, that'll wrap this video up, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace!